the maintenance staff leaving the grass at a higher than normal heights to, make it a little bit, a little bit more challenging to unfade. But did, having, the new type of,
The
egg hunt timing
for the little kids,
for the little kids work out better?
Well, I think it worked out much better. I think Zach's daughter went through it first. Yeah, he went through it. Yeah, so I think it was. We found it actually. We got a lot of compliments on that. I know, like when I take my daughter to egg hunts, for that age, it's better to have them in smaller groups for anything. So we found out that really benefited the younger age group. And I think we'll see a lot of those parents come back. They'll probably tell their friends about it. Because what we did was very rare in the area. A lot of people do not offer that kind of egg hunt for little kids. So it's good.
Yeah, it was fantastic to see the turnout, especially with so many other Easter spring events.
Right.
To compete with ours, that we had the tremendous support of the community to come out. I mean, the live music was a good touch. People weren't sitting, and listening to them directly like a concert. I mean, it provided.
It helped the atmosphere. I felt like
it was
everything goes smooth. But we also were blessed with like great weather.
Oh, excellent.
That's like back-to-back years were great weather. There's been years I know when Scott and I were out there, and it was like totally overcast and it seemed like 50 degrees. We had like perfect mid-70s, nice little breeze. It was great.
I mean, the kids were. I even sat on the new bench, and they did the Rotary Club did a fantastic job. I sat there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's perfect to sit there and watch the kids. I mean, all the spring toys were being used. I mean, the whole park was being used, and it was really good.
It was good. Yeah, we appreciate you guys coming out.
Okay. So, comments from my fellow board members. Anyone else want? Do you have any comments on that?
No, good to be back. Missed one. I was out there spring breaking myself, and we had Easter eggs in the sand for the first time and lost like 3 of them. So I was first. I think the grass is much better. I think I'll try to be here next year. There you go. So hey, that was the first. My daughter's in college, so it was the first Easter away, so I had to be there. But good to be back.
All right, I'm gonna Connor. Okay, we're on comments from board members. So do you want to add anything?
Yes, actually. I went to the spring fling. I had pancakes in this room. That was excellent. Went over to the park. So many people were there. So many smiling faces. It was just really great. So good work. Let everyone know who's involved with that. It is awesome.
That's all.
Thank you.
Okay, now we took approval of the minutes out of orders. Oh, I'm sorry, Pat.
The new guy on the block.
Okay.
No, I just want to talk about the Easter egg hunt too.
Cool.
I brought my grandkids.
Yeah.
And we've been to other ones prior years and everything, and this was, man, it's just the word of mouth, like you said. Everything is the word of mouth on how great it was.
Right.
With all those kids there helping, all the little kids, that small age group there, because I have a grandson that's 4.
Right.
Instead of him getting run over by bigger kids.
Right.
And then they had it limited to 10 kids at a time, which was perfect. It was phenomenal. There was just so much going on there for a child that if they didn't have fun, it's because they were sick. It was a great job. It was a tremendous job.
Cool. Thanks, Patrick. I appreciate it.
All right, any more comments? Go to, back to the approval of the minutes. So, does anyone have any questions of staff of the minutes? Any corrections or changes? All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second that.
All those in favor?
I should probably abstain.
Abstain, so Motion passes. Okay, administrators report. Larry, do you have anything?
Yeah, I got a couple things I'd just like to highlight. One, I've tried to keep more abreast of the recent audit, request for audit, the RFP that we sent out. After having a lot of people stare down that RFP and review it, we found out after we sent it out, when we got replies back from CPA firms that we had made an error in the audit. We don't think the audit hurt us, but we also thought it might have affected the price quotes that we would receive. So we contacted all the firms, notified them of the correction, and then we extended the timeline to the 24th of May. So we've already heard back from one of the firms who is keeping the price the same, nothing's changed. But it's good that we get that correction. We found that the same error had been made to 2 previous RFPs, which are done every 3 years. So it was good to get it done right, so in the future that we won't have that mistake in there. Hopefully we'll have more people submit an interest, and then at the end of the month, the Budget, Finance, and Audit Committee will be meeting to review the submittals and then bring that forth back to the June 8th board meeting for the board to make a selection. The other thing I'd like to bring up is earlier today, Scott and I met with Silverado Homes to get an update on the Alberta Park project, which many of you are familiar with, which is a 225 home development that is underway. The good news is, as you know, the bad news is that the weather really slowed down Silverado from getting their models built. It didn't stop them from getting homes sold. They sold approximately 40 homes without seeing a model. And because of the speed and pace that is going on for selling the homes, they wanted to meet with us to begin the beginning stages of the park design. As some of you that were here know, and the new ones who may not, the new board members, the agreement that we have with Silverado Homes is after 50% plus one home is built, or in this case 113 homes, they are contractually obligated to begin construction of the park. The park is a tool for them to, once they begin development of the park, could stimulate further sales. But we want to get that park built as soon as possible. So to go backwards, they're talking about next spring, correct, Scott? They hoping the way things are going that they could be breaking ground on the park by next spring. So we have to start now with the design process. So today we just kind of caught back up after a year and a half about some of the ideas that we had tossed around. Reconfigure, looked at the park and where the houses are going to be located and all the issues surrounding that, and started talking about what are some of the design elements that we'd like to see in the park. I explained to them that we, why we can certainly share with them the things that we believe are components that should be included in the park. What we need to do within the next 2 months is come back to the board and have the landscape architect, who is also there at today's meeting, they come to the board meeting and basically show a schematic drawing of what we're talking about so far. We need your input and comment. We need to get the public input and comment about the park design. Now, the interesting thing is there's not a neighborhood there, so we're not likely to get a lot of people who live in that general area to weigh in because the park is a neighborhood park for that particular development. But regardless, we need to go through that process. Because from the beginning, my experience from the beginning of designing the park to actual beginning of construction, you're talking 6 to 9 months, closer to the 9-month mark. So if they're looking to break ground next spring and we're already into spring, we need to start that process now. A couple other interesting parts of this project is that we've noticed that our park dedication fund, which we get a monthly printout from the county, we've noticed is starting to increase because as they sell a home, approximately $7,000 in park dedication funds are then put in our account. If you do the math, we're looking like anywhere between $1.6 and $1.8 million from park dedication funds. Right now, we're estimating the park cost to probably be in the neighborhood of $800,000 to $900,000, which the landscape architect confirmed today is a good price, because right now it's going anywhere between $300,000 to $350,000 an acre to design. Our park is 3 acres, but 1/2 acre is dedicated to a retention pond, and that's excluded out of the design. So we have 2.5 acres we'll be programming and designing for the park. That, like I said, that started now. We talked about enough information, that we would like to see some barbecues, we'd like to see a shade structure, obviously maybe 2 sets of children's playgrounds for the younger kids and a little bit older, benches, picnic tables, and that's probably about as far as we got, because those are probably the ingredients that we would put into any park. But where it looks like, where these elements are placed in the park, which are kind of critical, because we do have some homes that they share a fence line with the park, and the fence is going to be 3 feet of solid wall, 3 feet of basically exposed, they call it pipe, but it's like rebar, or not rebar, rubber. So that way they can see the park, but it protects them in case somebody has a loose dog from getting in their backyard, or people just wandering in their backyard. So where we place, no one would certainly want to have a children's play area 6 feet away from their back of their property, I'm sure. So this is the fun thing. This is the real fun stuff that we did all the hard work up front with working with the developer and the county, getting all the plans approved and getting everything done, getting the homeowners association fees structure in place. So all that is going to take care of itself, and now we get to do the fun part, and that's design the park. So I'll come back with you if I have information from the landscape architect by the June meeting, but I think we're likely looking at July. He said 2 months, within 2 months. So let's look for July. We'll, Kevin Leamy is his name, and we'll have Kevin come to the meeting. He'll bring some design concepts, and he'll bring different ones to show you, so you just don't get to say that this is the one we're doing. He can show you that if you want it here, that it looks like this. We're limited with and I think it's a good news, we're limited with putting turf in the park because of the drought regulations that were passed by the county year and a half ago. That's not changed, and I hope they never change it, because we had a drought then, it's going to happen sooner or later again. So we have what we can put, what type of turf we put in the park and where we put it. That's going to be kind of the part of the design, so it looks nice. It's not going to be barren ground. We'll put trails and pathways throughout the park, and there's a lot of things that we can do. If we want to put in some sort of exercise components for adults and those type of things in the park, so people can walk around the park, stop and do exercise, we can do that. So anyway, I'm getting way too fast here with all this stuff. We'll be coming back to you in a couple months and begin that process. I'm going to take a guess that we're probably going to have everything wrapped up with the design and all the any county approvals that are going to be required. We want to have all that done probably by late fall, so that way all the plans are in place, and then we can go begin construction in the spring. And this project won't be bid. This is a turnkey project, which means we've actually contracted with the developer to build the park for us. There are advantages to do it that way. If you contract out, the contractor's got to make a profit. The developer is not making a profit, but because he also has his men that work there building homes, he has all the heavy equipment there because they're building homes and building roads and all those other things. He doesn't have that added cost to have somebody come in and do it. So we actually will probably get a $800,000 or $900,000 park that's probably really about 1.2, 1.3 million because of what we say we can put back into the park. But anyway, so that's what we talked about today. It was good news, and we look forward to coming back to the boards this summer and begin the design process. There's a section in the agenda I put it called important dates, and Scott pointed out that I had an error in there. I put that the next regular board meeting was June 11th, it's actually June 8th. And I just want to make sure that, I'm sure you guys would have caught that, but I just wanted to point that out. And that concludes my reports.
All right, does anyone have any questions for Larry?
That was just
All right. Scott, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add to the written report unless anyone has any questions.
I got a question. At Brock Park, that irrigation valve that was broken,
Mm-hmm.
was that the league's fault that it broke, or is it time?
Well, it was probably damaged by someone, it was a volunteer from the league. The pipe itself was inside the pump house where they also store equipment, which is probably a situation we want to change up for next year. But if they were putting a shocker or a drag or something, it's a PVC pipe that actually sat above floor level. Well, that's the pipe that got broken. So we jacked the pipe out, dropped it down below floor level so that can't happen again. So who did it, when it happened, we can't really determine. We're not going to be punitive at this time. We have talked to the volunteers from the league, including the board president, let them know that they need to be a little bit more careful.
Right.
But yeah. It's
So it happened there on that side one, that not where see, I'm trying, I know where the equipment room is.
Yeah, on the west side of the pump house, on that door,
Okay.
yeah, by the field,
Okay.
yeah, and they keep gear in there, and I think that's probably what you described, that's probably what happened.
Okay, yeah, I'm a T-ball coach there. I've been in that. So
Yeah,
that's-
yeah.
I saw that, and I just, if it is fault of a parent, I'm definitely gonna.
Well, we know it wasn't vandalism or anything like that. It was just probably, someone wasn't paying close enough attention. And, of course, projects like that always beget a new project. And after we flush the line, we'll get some rocks in the line, then we have to change out a sprinkler header and valve. So it's all up and working great now, so we're pleased with that.
Thank you.
Any more questions of Scott? All right, Mark.
Just one thing. Everybody here got a copy of the new recreation guide for this upcoming summer. Has all of our upcoming programs, summer camps, talks about facilities, and upcoming sports. If you have any questions, please let me know. I can get that answered.
That came in my mail the other day.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. What day did it arrive to me? Okay.
Monday or Tuesday, I'm trying to.
Okay. They put it in the mail on Thursday, so just kind of. People have been calling like different times of the beginning throughout the Thursday.
I have a question. I noticed play valves.
Yeah.
There are no June or July dates.
That's because Playpals is actually, we're co-running that program with Twin Rivers.
Okay.
Twin Rivers is off for the summer, so
Yeah.
that program runs with during the school year.
Okay, that makes sense.
So they'll be back. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Any other questions? Or more? Okay, Terry, you sure? I didn't want to exclude you. Correspondence, we didn't have any this month, and comments and reports from citizens and organizations not on the agenda, so do you have anything?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I've been I'd like to see Mark over at Pancake House the other day. I hope you guys paid for his breakfast while he was there. Anyways, good to see you guys over there. First item I want to mention real quick, I'm trying to help out with some of the other people in the community on the homeless issues. Up to and including trying to find some space over at Quallen Park where they got all those empty dormitories just sitting there. So anyway, we'll see if we can get Larry Kelly to share those with us. Yeah, go see former congressman, looking to do the same thing with him out of Gibson Ranch. Few people don't care for it out there, but you know what? It's about as far away as you're going to get from most of the rest of the community, and I think that's going to be the key to the success is put it somewhere where it's not underneath someone's feet. Next item, looks like probably tonight I'll be finding out if I got approved. Sue Frost, our supervisor, told me that it's a good chance that I'll be maybe a CPAC member again, but it'll be an Antelope. I don't know if any of you recall before, but I was a CPAC member of North Highlands for 8 years, and then I left and took a little bit of a break. But looking forward to get back into that. If we have any kind of projects remotely that would benefit North Highlands while I'm in there, let me know ahead of time. I'll be sure to help swing the boat our direction. Because my heart's going to be in North Highlands. That's pretty much where I grew up at. I'll sell for Antelope right now, but it's not what I'm looking for.
We've got a Memorial Day parade that's back on, thanks to my friend here that I brought tonight. She's going to talk to you a little bit about when and where. Her father was a member, third president of the third president of the VFW back in 1978.
Yeah, 57, 58.
Yeah, so anyway, quite a bit back there, but anyway, with her help, she's taking this on 100% by herself, and a few people like myself are climbing on board to give her a hand, but she definitely gets all the credit on this, and she's paying for the whole thing. So with that in mind, we can't do nothing but be appreciative of her. I'm also taking her immediately after this meeting over to see Sue Frost at the library for her monthly meeting, and get people to know her a little bit over there as well. So we'll be short and brief here. VFW was down, and they were going to cancel that parade after last year. Last year was our 50th anniversary. There was a lot of us that wanted to keep it going, but we lost on a 10-8 vote by 2 votes, so we turned it down, and she came out of the blue, so we're going to be real appreciative of it. Other than that, RNA for come up. She's going to tell you real briefly about the parade and what we got going.
My dad. He was here on Friday and Tuesday and run the Pinnacle Group since 1976. Right 2 years ago, at the age of 95. So, like he was saying, that he was one of the charter members of the Post 46, 47 of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. So I made the parade in honor of him. And that's our poster to say that we're going to indeed have this parade on May 29th. From 10 to 12, right down White Avenue, the same route that the VFW put on, like you said, for 50 years. So, maybe you guys would like to have copies of it. Do you have any questions about the parade?
We're going to cancel the White Avenue cleanup I've done for the last 8 years. It's about 20 times more work being entailed than what she's doing, so I'll be helping her with that. Thank you. It's worthwhile stuff. Any questions, anyone?
No, I'm happy that you're getting involved with CPAC.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
He was 95 when he died 2 years ago.
Just for record, did you sign in when you came in? So we have your name on, okay, we just have, so we have your name on record? Okay, thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're at unfinished business. We don't have any. We're now at new business. Item A, proposed district policy procedure manual revisions. Board discussion and action to approve the following policies: the budget reserve fund policy, the refund policy, and the paid sick leave policy. So,
All right.
are we going to have the committee make a brief report?
Sure, we can do that real quick. It was quite interesting for me personally, so it was great to be on that. With Al and I, we sat down with Larry. Can't remember the exact date, but maybe Larry can help me out. But anyways, so the first one, we'll talk about the first one, budget reserve fund policy. A new policy there that that we want to definitely implement. When we talked about that, obviously there was no budget reserve fund, so it's all set to be a new policy. So, obviously the question for somebody new like me was like, why? Okay, and well, we need that because we want to be able to manage a lot of money, and we want to make sure during those downtimes that there's definitely a fund available for us to sit there and not just be have layoffs or whatever it is. How much of that fund is what we're saying, and we got a little bit of talks about that. We're looking at about 20% of the monies there being kept in that fund for those purposes. So that way we know that during any time that we always have something in case we have a downturn in the economy or whatever the case might be. That would be there in our budget reserve fund. Okay. We talked quite a bit. We said yes, that this is a goal of ours to make sure that we have that to again be fiscally sound. However, with that being the goal, if there was something said that we think that programs or something else was being cut due to too much money being flowed into that fund, that can be looked at annually, okay? So it was something that we came up with all together. We were all in favor of sticking with that. With that nice 20. Also, there was also a contingency fund reserve that came out as well. Looking at like about 5% of that just for emergency situations, unexpected type deals that would definitely kick in, okay, with board approval and that might need to happen to else on that side. So that was the quick and that was the quick and easy, quick part of the overall assessment of what we talked about. I don't know, Larry, I'll probably miss a key point or two.
Well, you did a very good job with that.
Something I want to add to
I just want to say that the reserves have always been there. We have reserves. If you look in your budget, you'll see a line item at the bottom. It says reserves. But we don't, as was said, we don't have a reserve policy. And it was recommended about year 2000, there was a study done, and they talked about how cities and counties have reserves, but special districts, for the most part, don't have, many of them don't have policies. In my own survey, I found out that well over half of the special districts in Sacramento County do not, but some do. And the whole idea is to identify the fact that you have a reserve, but there's a certain amount, a certain threshold. In this case, as was stated, it was 20%. 20% means, that's really set aside for a major emergency that's faced by the district, that we have the means to tap into those funds. And I think a good example would be, I don't know, you guys know better than I do, 5, 6, 7 years ago when the district was facing tough times because of the economy. You can even go back and look at the budget and start seeing how the reserves dropped. The budget started dropping because we had less money coming in. We are dependent upon having property tax as our main source of income, and property tax was not. We were getting property tax, but because property values were lower, we were getting less money. My predecessor, rightfully so, looked at cutting the budget where he could cut the budget. And thank goodness that the economy turned around at a time, it was a critical time because our reserves were low, our budgets had been cut, and staff had gone a number of years without step increases or pay increases. Well, thank goodness for the economy, it turned around. But what we want to do is we want to say basically, look, we want to isolate, in this case, 20% of this budget. And that budget's going to change as every year it happens. Isolate that and say, look, we don't touch that. Because in the case of emergency in the future, we may tap into that to say, hey, we don't want to lay off employees and we don't want to cut services. We'll use part of that money, if we think this is going to be a short-term situation, we can use some of that money to maintain services. So the policy basically is in place to identify the fact is that we will, and again, we won't, you'll see in this budget here that the budget we put together, you'll see that we're projecting reserves probably around $600,000. 20% of that would be, what, $120,000 that would be available to us for projects and other things, but the rest we wouldn't touch. I don't think we're going to, outside of what we've already budgeted for projects for this next year, I don't think we're going to be touching that, but it's a good policy to have. And the beauty of it is, it says it's a goal. So if the board at any time wants to say, hey, we need to modify it, we want it more or we want it less, you can do that. The contingency part that was mentioned in there is that we already have a contingency fund. But it's really, I look at the contingency based on what kind of projects we have going, anything that we have coming down the road that, for instance, we may want to replace the parking lot at Street Park. Maybe the bids come in a lot higher to do that, then we go into the contingency, and that's a liquid fund. We can tap right into that and get more approval and transfer funds into the right accounts to do that. So it's really not changing our practice, but it's really calling out the fact is that we have a policy and we know that there's a certain percentage of our annual budget that, unless it's an absolute dire emergency with the district, we're not touching it. Because outside of having insurance to protect our roof caves in. We have insurance that will cover that. But there's, just in case something, a catastrophic situation happens, we need to have some money set aside that we just know we're not going to touch, except for that situation. So, you did a good job talking about it, and I think what we proposed is 20% for the reserve, and then 5%, no more than 5% for the contingency. In fact, this year I think it's 2% is what we're recommending, something like that. So that's kind of the short and long of the reserve policy.
Any questions, comments?
No, I always thought you had, you guys always had, this is all new to me, so I'm learning.
We had a reserve, we just didn't have a policy that talked about it.
Yeah, and I'm surprised it's the size of us that we did. No, this is very good.
If you want to talk about the next one, we can probably.
Let's go talk about all three, and then we'll take a vote on it, and approve them all at once,
You
yeah.
bet.
Yeah.
You bet. Okay, then the next one, the other, it went kind of quick, because you could, I don't know if you have the original refund policy and what it changed to. We talked some about the current refund policy on just how it was really all over the board, if you will, okay, for lack of better terms. And what it looked 100% better, I thought, okay. We went back in there, and for example, we said, we went in there, and with the wording, we had just recreation programs, we just give that its own category. Facility rentals, we gave that a category, and we said how the refunds and credits would be issued. So, for example, facility rentals, okay, we broke that down, and we gave specific number of days, and then how much refund you would get. So it was spelled out really nicely. Yes, you'll see a couple things maybe that did disappear from the current policy, such as something like the satisfaction guarantee, as an example. I think our products are going to be pretty doggone good. Okay, but there was really no one set refund policy, if you will. So now with this, we do have a something stated. Hey, this is going to work, for the various programs that are within North Highlands Park and Recreation District. So you can go through there right there. I mean, you can see that. I really was in favor of a lot of this was going on. I don't know if we did correct maybe there was a couple corrections on there. I just looked at my old paper. I didn't want to notice something. So again, I really I was really in favor of the proposed new refund policy.
Yeah, just again, I think you said most of it there. If you look at the old policy, which is attached behind the new policy, with one exception, the most of the existing refund policy was last changed in 1991. And what has happened is, as you can expect, as new programs happen and things change, you sometimes modify your refund policy to meet that particular program. And what we found out is we had a lot of kind of policies that we weren't consistent with it. And we want to be able to post our refund policy and make sure it's easily read. So as was stated, we broke it into two categories. We have one for recreation programs and one for facilities. And I think it reads a little bit better, it's a little bit more clear, and we brought it up to date. And with regards to the satisfaction guarantee, that was a brainchild of CPRS, California Parks and Recreation Society, back in the, late 80s, early 90s, when it was a time when Parks and Recreation, especially for cities and counties, were not dependent upon bringing in revenue. Whatever you brought in, the government agency was happy to get it. Well, when times got tough, many adopted programs that said, or policies that said, you have to pay. If you spend $1, you got to make $1. And so to kind of highlight that they were going to stand behind the product, CPRS came out with the satisfaction guarantee. You'll still see it occasionally in different Parks and Recreation agencies, but for the most part, it disappeared a long time ago. And as probably to the chagrin of some of my staff, I am, as much as I try to be a tough guy when it comes to refunds, look, if somebody puts forth a good reason why they should get a refund, the old adage is, if you know if one person walks away unhappy, they'll tell 10 people, and they'll tell people, well, we're not that big. And you start telling more than 10 people, people aren't going to come to our programs. If there's a good reason for not issuing it, and there have been in the past, we will hold firm to it. But in this case here, it's really a very relaxed refund policy. And with the facility one is a little different because often people will need to book a facility, say at the community center all day for a wedding, a birthday party, a quinceanera, something like that. And if they cancel it at the last minute, we are not likely going to be able to rebook that. And so we lose the income. Well, so it's a shared game here. The closer we get to it, the renter has more at stake. And if they back out, they're going to lose money. And likewise, if they back out, we're not going to be left with nothing. So we did run this by staff and had staff look at it and poke holes in it, and see if anything didn't make sense. And what we submitted to the committee was what we're now submitting to the board.
And last but not least was, we looked over the sick leave policy. I think more of this was a little more legalities, if you will. Okay, obviously with the change in times, you notice that a lot of times, sometimes these things, like you can read those, who is entitled, who falls under the paid sick leave. Nowadays, due to law, you have domestic partners and whatnot. So some of the verbiage really hadn't changed. More, like I said, more to do with law than anything from what we saw here. The biggest change was if you look at 2130.4 upon retirement instead of upon termination. So that was our biggest change. Upon termination, sick leave would not be granted. Okay. So that was probably the biggest change that we looked at. And then obviously, excuse me, upon, we changed that to upon retirement, which also was in there before. But like I said, the big things, you can see under 2130.3, who was affected by that. So more so from what I gathered, and we talked about was more of the legality terms of who this would apply to. Some changes there, and again, obviously, under termination, sick leave will no longer be paid. Did I have that right, Larry?
Yeah, that was actually, I think, an error that had been put in the original sick leave policy. It was basically saying that upon termination, we were going to pay you for your sick leave. And it really meant to say that upon retirement. And so what happened was I saw that, and we, as Diane remembers, a couple years ago, we had the part-time sick leave policy that was created, and we had to implement that into our existing policy. So as we started to look at this, we're going to say there's a lot of redundancies here. There's some things that were not clearly defined. The old policy talked about who qualified for sick leave, and it basically said an employee's immediate family. Well, actually, the California Labor Code now defines, it probably didn't back then, but now defines what is immediate family. And as it was mentioned, 1995, part of the word domestic, or phrase domestic partner, no one would know what that meant. And so what happened was, so we have a couple of things in here I gave to our attorney to review. And he came back and says, you know what, I think the best thing is we need to rewrite the entire policy. So what you see is exactly what he wrote. We didn't change anything in it, and it now brings our sick leave policy in line with what it should be. We're now have the right words, the right phrases, the right codes, and the right terminology in place. And so I think that, and that's kind of a good idea as we go forward with certain types of policies, especially anything that has some legal standing to it. It's a good idea to always have the attorney review it. And in this case here, we've had him review every one we've done. But in this case here, he said this one is so far out of whack. Let's just rewrite the whole policy. So I thought, as I mentioned to the committee, I'd love to hear your recommendations for changes, but this one probably has to go without change, simply was written by our attorney and meets the requirements, the legal requirements.
So we talked about those three policies, and we pretty much. I mean, I had questions, kind of interesting. It's my first time ever, so I had questions, and they were answered. I was pretty happy with coming out with what the new policies were proposed. So, yeah, go forward.
Yeah, I want to thank Larry and the personnel policy committees. These are great meetings. I want to make a motion that the Board of Directors approve proposed revisions to the following policies: number 3080 refund policy and number 2130 paid sick leave policy, and adopt 3050.9 budget reserve fund policy as a new policy.
I second.
Is there any questions or any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
And just as a side note to this, I mentioned to Diane and Pat tonight, we met earlier to do an orientation with Pat, is that during our meeting, Alan brought up, and it was actually, I think, a very valid point, because it's been mind-boggling to me since I've been here. And that is are the titles that we use in our personal manual, our policy manual rather, with regards to the titles of the committee, are a little bit wordy and a little bit confusing. We have the budget, finance, and audit committees, which we all agreed that having to just call it the finance committee would probably be able to cover all that. And also the personnel and personnel policy is kind of redundant. So just a committee, call it personnel policy. So next month I'll be coming back to you with looking at all our committees and their titles with some proposed language change.
Sounds great.
Because sometimes it is an awful get personnel policies out.
So, tongue twister test. Okay, we are at payment of bills. Sarah, does anyone have any questions of staff of the Mace Building report? Anything you want to highlight, Larry, or Sharon?
Well, just to point out that this is for in April, so we have left in the fiscal year, we have May and in June that will be incurring costs. You'll notice in the next 2 months that we'll probably see an escalation of expenditures on the park maintenance side, because we're transitioning from spring into summer, and now we're turning back on the water. We're starting to prune and fertilize and do a lot of things. So you'll see a little spike in expenditures within the budget. And the same thing in a large degree of recreation. They'll be hiring people for the summer training. And so everything's cyclical in our budgets. We don't have 12 months that equally divided into 12 different, equal expenditures. Well, spring and summer are the more significant spending times. Fall and winter, you see a drop off in spending for the most part. We don't water in the winter time, so our water costs are a little bit low. And I just want to point out something, just kind of a side note. And I appreciate Scott doing some research on this. We budget $80,000 a year for water, and we spend $80,000 even when we were spending over $100 before the drought, and we had to scale back. About 40% of our bill goes just to pay for meters. So our meter charges to Sac Suburban are about 40% of our bills, so probably 30 to 35%. Have nothing to do with the payment of water. It has to do with the payment of having the right to use the meters.
Wow.
That's pretty significant. Maybe we should look at digging our own wells.
After going through just like a 5-year drought, the water tastes like nothing. Yeah.
You're right.
Gold.
Okay.
Okay, is there any questions? We'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
You second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. The next regular meeting of the Board of Directors will be June 8, 2017 at 6:30 p.m. in the North Highlands Recreation Center, 6040 Watt Avenue, North Highlands. The meeting is now adjourned.